I'd like to welcome you all to the Washington Club and thank the staff and director particularly for inviting us to be here today to do a demonstration of some recipes from my upcoming cookbook, Cheap and Easy in the Kitchen. Everybody should have gotten a set of a week's worth of recipe cards. Everybody got it? There we go. All right, we're going to do 3 different dishes from it today from those recipes. We're going to do a shrimp Creole, a baked ziti, and braised beef. There were a couple people that called me a few weeks ago, right when the group I was coming out, and I'm not sure if you're here for this show or other shows, but there had a lot of people actually call me and say, I'm vegetarian, I don't eat meat. You'll notice the baked ziti normally calls for pork and beef, and I had a lot of people also say, I don't eat pork. So I decided, all right, we're going to modify this one for the demonstration and do it just with vegetarian so that everybody could have a little sampling of everything. And certainly if you have any allergies, please let the girls know at the back before tasting something. I don't want anybody getting sick over eating, a stray piece of celery or something like that. First dish I want to do is the shrimp Creole. And it's a real simple dish, and this is actually what got me started on working on the cookbook. I was going through my recipe cards one day, my grandmother's recipes. She had the traditional box of recipe cards and the handwritten notes all over it. And there's one shrimp Creole in there. I thought, well, my grandmother, she grew up in a mill town, very modest income family and everything. And I thought, shrimp. And being from South Carolina, from Columbia, yeah, the coast was close by, but shrimp was a luxury item. And I'm thinking, what the heck, does she just put 2 shrimp in the whole dish or what? I flip it over to the back and it says, check, twice a month, Piggly Wiggly has shrimp on sale. So, okay, Grandma was being cheap and easy. So that's the one one of the first recipes I decided to put in there. It's my grandmother's recipe for shrimp Creole. It's really simple, really easy, can be made in no time flat. Got a pot on medium-high heat. Add a little bit of olive oil. And while that gets warmed up, you can go ahead and chop up a pepper. And all of these dishes that I'm demonstrating are for a family of 4. Should be a nice, healthy portion. I don't believe in supersize. I think that's one of the problems we all have when we go out to eat. Restaurants have decided that we should have this massive portion of food. You don't need it. You can be quite filling just on a regular, healthy portion. And there's no reason not to do it healthy and cheap. All right, get the peppers going a little bit here. I've got an onion over here I'm going to sweat just a little bit with these peppers. And when I was buying the food, obviously as a caterer and personal chef, I typically buy from wholesale companies and everything like that. So yeah, you go, okay, fine, you can do dinner for 4 for a week for $100 or less. Yeah, it's easy enough to do when you're a caterer and you can buy it wholesale. But these 3 recipes, I went yesterday to Wegmans. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Wegmans. It's like Disneyland for me. It's a wonderful place. They have, all the foie gras and all the prepared foods, which are wonderful. And the cheese shop could stay in there forever. But a lot of people think that it's a really expensive store. They're not. I went in and bought for this demonstration and one this afternoon enough to feed a family of 4, 3 different meals. It cost me $41. The only thing I didn't buy was one ingredient for the last thing because I had a bunch of them in my own refrigerator, carrots, which are fairly cheap to start with. All right. Got the onions and the peppers sweating away a little bit. To that, add in some celery. Have 2 bay leaves, Old Bay seasoning, or whatever kind of seafood seasoning you prefer, and cayenne pepper. A little bit of salt, and some fresh cracked pepper. Now, I didn't make the recipe very spicy for the tasting because I know there are a lot of sensitive palates and everything. If you really like yours spicy, let me know. I've got plenty of cayenne pepper. We can spice it up for you. Which, no, shouldn't do that. Somebody might not like the hot sauce. I'll wait. That's just my own addition to my grandmother's recipe. To that, we're going to add the shrimp. And I left the tails on mine. I know some people, it's back and forth. Some people like the tails, some people don't. I just think it makes a better presentation. We got a full house. Everybody finally made it in through chicken. Is there somebody that came through last and say there's nobody else in a long line downstairs? Good. To that, we're going to add our canned tomatoes, diced tomatoes. Now, unfortunately, yesterday I wanted to stick with buying everything the day before at Wegmans. They were out of San Marzano tomatoes. Not sure how many of y'all have tried the difference between a regular canned tomato and San Marzano. Much sweeter, much fresher taste. Slowly heats back up. Where are you from? You were one of the ones that put up your hand. Okay, yeah. Lived here all your life, huh?
Yep.
Wow. In D.C. or in Northern Virginia?
Fairfax.
Okay. Suburbs. I'm originally from South Carolina, like I said, and moved up here. And I was complaining to my mother yesterday morning about how cold it was, and she said, it's colder than that in Columbia today, so what do you know? The burner's going very slow. Live demonstrations. Nancy Tringali, a good friend of mine, she's actually written the foreword for my cookbook, wrote, my 2-year-old eats octopus. Have anybody ever read the book, picked it up? You can see at least one person back there. And seriously, her 2-year-old does eat octopus, or did, he's not 2 anymore. Most children aren't going to eat that. So that eliminates a lot of your problems as far as the cost for food, because they're not going to eat the exotics, the foie gras, and things that lobster, like all of us, or most of us, enjoy. Most kids will try shrimp Creole. Baked ziti is so close to spaghetti. They're all for it. As we slowly heat back up. Sorry for the equipment being a little slow this morning. Does anybody have any questions so far while we wait for the pot to reheat? Yeah, go ahead.
The recipe you're doing, would that work equally well for, say, scallops or...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, scallops, they cook a little bit faster than shrimp, so I wouldn't have thrown them in quite like that. I would wait for the tomatoes and onions and everything to heat up, and then maybe about 8 to 10 minutes before, depending on if you're using sea scallops or bay scallops. Bay scallops are going to cook really, really fast, so adjust that down. And again, for the vegetarians out there, or the vegans out there, you don't have to have shrimp. You can substitute white beans. Works really nicely with this. And me, I'm a meat eater. I love my shrimp, but I've done it with white beans as well. Any other questions?
You mentioned that you put cayenne pepper in. Was that the sauce, the hot sauce that you're
No, I was about to put it in because that's my personal taste. I splash a little bit on at the end, but I'm not cooking it for me. I'm cooking it for you guys. And that's not in the recipe. It does mention hot sauce in the directions, but the cayenne pepper is actually a powder. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
And that was one of the ones that I took out of the little small dishes.